was kind of fortuitous in that it started as a different aircraft. The British Air Ministry in 1940 was very hard put to field sufficient fighters to counter the Luftwaffe, and so the Air Ministry came to North American, an upstart young company in California, and asked that they build some P-40s. Now the P-40 was not a first-line fighter, and Dutch Kindleberger, the owner and chief executive of North American, countered with a proposal to build a new airplane from scratch. Well, the British Air Ministry said, we don't have that kind of time. We need the aircraft immediately. From design to prototype to flying in 100 days. And I think they were quite skeptical, but they did sign a contract, and he did make good on his boast. Well, the first flying P-51s were very good, but were limited because of the engine, the Allison engine. And someone in Britain, a test pilot in Britain, got the bright idea to put a Rolls-Royce Merlin in the P-51, and that marriage of the P-51 with the Rolls-Royce Merlin was kind of a marriage made in heaven. It made the airplane. It was actually a superb, and it was a quantum leap over existing fighters at the time. Well, I'm frequently asked, what does it take to make a fighter pilot, and what does it take to make a successful fighter pilot? I wish I knew, because if I did, I'd probably be a millionaire. In the course of my years of flying fighters and flying combat, I've come to several conclusions requiring what characteristics makes a successful fighter pilot, and I think the principal one, you find all kinds of personalities, but the thing that's common to all successful fighter pilots, in my opinion, is the fact that they're very aggressive and look for contact with the enemy. I think if you looked at a frequency distribution of fighter pilots, you'd find that perhaps 90% of them will do their job. They'll go out, and if they have a chance to refuse combat, perhaps they would. If push comes to shove, they'll fight when they have to. Perhaps 10% would just as soon not go, and would seek every opportunity not to have contact with the enemy. And the upper 10% are the hunters. They've got the glint in their eye, and they're actively seeking contact with the enemy. They want to mix it up, and they're very confident in their ability. They're all excellent pilots, not necessarily superb pilots, but perfectly in control of their airplane, and perfectly in control of their emotions. When they can think clearly in the midst of bedlam where people are screaming, "Break, break," and you got him, look out, he's on your tail, and all kinds of nonsensical radio transmissions. You got to cut this all out. Pay attention to your sight picture, watch for your wingman, watch for the enemy fighters, and you got to do this all at the same time, and it tests the senses. But successful fighter pilots do this, and of course you have to be lucky as well. You have to be mounted on an aircraft which will compare favorably performance-wise with the enemy fighters. But basically, I think it's the spirit of aggressiveness which makes a successful fighter pilot. Even parked at the ramp, just standing there, it looks like it's going 200 miles an hour. And there's an old saying among pilots, test pilots, that if it looks good, it probably flies good.